Друзья, меня зовут Рахим Ушакбаев.
So, dear guest, I'm Rahim Shakbayev. I will be moderating today's session. Once again, I bring apologies for delay. Mr. Omarov is on the way, but will be starting. So, and our session is devoted to digital agriculture, from accurate agronomy to smart farms. And nowadays, we observe that there is more demand for organic, and there is an array of unresolved problems which are encountered by agriculture. Let me introduce our speakers, Mr. Subotin, who is the member of the Board of Industry and Agriculture of the Eurasian Economic Commission, Mr. Marcel Andreas, Manager of Agri-Insurance in Europe and Central Asia of Swiss, George Dragon, Head of the Commercial Division of Kazakh, Syngenta company, Oljaz Kulimbayev, who is regional salesman for this region, Mr. Gerald Herman, Director Organic Services, and Andrey Andreyev, Head of EMEA region, Cropio. Dear colleagues, thank you for joining us. We are to finish by 6, but probably will stay slightly longer. Minister is arriving, and meanwhile, I'm inviting Mr. Subotin, who will speak on behalf of the Eurasian Economic Commission. 7 minutes in your disposal. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. So I'm pleased and honored to start our discussion, our session. I would like to welcome you on behalf of Eurasian Economic Commission. And I would like to also say that by data of UN and FAO, 10 billion people are living on the planet, and to feed all and to ensure food safety in all regions of the planet, 60–70% growth of production of food products is required. That's why sustainable development of agricultural production is needed. The tool for stability of agricultural production is to shift to digital forms, and Eurasian Economic Commission is paying due attention to that. Of course, shifting to digital forms is not remedy from anything, but is still one of the most efficient tools which would promote the resolve accumulated and upcoming problems. And number of common processes, 17 relate to agricultural sector, which envisages exchange of phytosanitary norms, identification of the register of the products of animal origin, production, processing, and storage of agricultural products, launching of new processes, and adopting new norms would ensure freedom of the movement within the Union, and even the largest producers note that digital platform from table to table would help to lift number of falsification and counterfacts, and also try to help consumers be confident and sure in the quality of products which they buy. And in order to also be able to provide all necessary information about the products. Also, agro-industrial policy of Eurasian Commission ensures automation of agro-industrial complex. Collection of information on the internal use of products in order to analyze agricultural market of the Union, and also to reflect the markets and potential for future supplies, forecasted balances, evaluation of the national plans, and R&D, and also government support of agriculture. These are the spectrum of issues which are covered by our commission. Also, seeds and seeds of plants which have been tested. This will be also enlisted and with recommendation of the zones where to better produce, and also the products of breeding, animal breeding, would improve and promote those disrupted relations and ties between former Soviet Union countries, which were disrupted during the collapse of the Soviet Union. In order to have single requirements to the quality, and all consumers who want to use the products be free to select information through digital tool, and then we'll see the remarks. They will see the remarks and recommendations of scholars in order to, prior to launching production and growing of this or that crop, or breeding these or those species of animals. I would like to say that digital tool would not only help us to be more efficient, but also will help us to shift to more coordinated policy, to agree and to even develop a single policy in order to be able to expect from each other tangible results. Thank you very much. Let me now give floor to the Minister, Saparkhan Omarov, Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Good afternoon, dear forum participants. And I bring my apologies that I was late. Probably we are not fully digitized yet. Dear session participants, the world has already stepped in the period of globalization and digitization, and innovative technologies developing, artificial intellect, new technologies are already dominating on the market. Digital platforms, robot techniques, and digitization would help us to reduce the risks and to adapt to climate change and enhance productivity of plant growing and animal breeding. enhancement of quality and competitiveness of agricultural products are the main tasks of digitization of agriculture. And in order to ensure smart management and governance, farmers need to master some digital based techniques like mobile applications, GPS systems. Digital technologies in Kazakhstan are seen in Kazakhstan as the main way of diversification of economy. Digital digitalization is not remedy from everything, but we are to use it to enhance efficiency. That's why the government has adopted the program which is called Digital Kazakhstan, and sectoral program of agriculture and agro-industrial complex has been approved, which includes government support measures to create system of interaction between business and agro-industrial complex entities. We also understand that farmers need to have access to digital tools and loans. Maximum automation of government governance, regulation of government services have been covered. Full automation of procedures of acquiring government subsidies, simplification of work of the farmers envisages digitization of sown areas, and farmers have now acquired a chance to manage their lands just being at home, and also be able to order fuel for winter periods. Also, new technologies allow to get higher harvests and yields, and these pilots and tests are not numerous, but we are glad to obtain the first results, and I think that these results would help us to promote digitization in future. Flock breeding, cattle breeding, also shows that show the increase in yield of milk and dairy products, and we think that 100% automation of life cycle of agricultural products would help safety, monitor the products, and transparency of investments to Kazakhstan. And sales are envisaged to rise. And I would like to note that in Kazakhstan, for more than 2 years, electronic grain receipts concept is now common. 26 million of grain were sold through electronic trading. And as for national infrastructure of digital information, openness of information and exchange of information, which would cover the entire area, and agri-industrial complex would now have the all scope of tools to see whether electronic and agrarian receipts, which is a new product, and this will be introduced next year. We have started the international experience. The necessary law would be adopted. If the law will be adopted this year, then next year this tool will be used. As for implementation of those projects, farmers would be able to receive necessary information for agronomic management, and adhering to this policy of digitization allows to say that Kazakhstan is one of the main advocates of further projects. Airbus, Crop Organic Services, and other companies are negotiating with us and reveal their interest, and I'm so pleased to see them today. And I think that today's session will be one of the stages for institutional transformation of digital Kazakhstan, and it will help to develop our business for digital Kazakhstan. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much, Saparkhan Kesikbayevich. The next speaker, Mr. Marcel Andres, manager of Agri Reinsurance in Europe and Central Asia, Swiss Re company.
So, inspiring growth. Как помогать фермеров в Kazakhstan?
How to help farmers in Kazakhstan to do better business. This is a question for the ministry. This is the question to be asked to farmers, but this is also the question for the Swiss Re company. I'm going to switch to English.
I work for the company Swiss Re. We are the world leader in reinsurance of agriculture. Since some years, we also now are active in Kazakhstan, together with the Association of Agriculture Insurers. Imagine we would have a system where all the farmers in Kazakhstan are registered, where all the fields are digitized, where all the money flows through blockchain, subsidy money, electronic credits, insurance money, and everything is transparent for everybody. The joke is, this system exists. We have been working now since 2 years with the company GoldDAO. It's an excellent platform. It is state-of-the-art. What we see, it is the best available in the world, and it's made in Kazakhstan. The only reason why a company like Swiss Re is willing to put like hundreds of millions of dollars at risk for the agricultural sector in Kazakhstan is because of these digital platforms. Without such platforms, we are not willing to put all this money and say, okay, if something happens, we will pay. This is not how we can work. So what we have been doing in the last years, can we go to the next slide? Следующий slide? No. So here we see an example of the GoldDAO platform. So every farmer in Kazakhstan is registered. The moment he registered, his fields are taken out of the cadastre of Kazakhstan. He sees where his fields are. He can click on every field. He can see what is growing there. He can see what was growing there last year. He can see the weather statistics. He can see the soil moisture statistics, temperature, and he can also see his insurance if he bought one. All this is live. All this works for all fields in Kazakhstan. I cannot emphasize more how great system this is. Next slide. So now the question, how can we use this for insurance? So what should we insure in Kazakhstan? The answer is, let's start with the biggest problem. The biggest problem in Kazakhstan is drought, засуха. What we see here on this map is detailed analysis of the drought situations in the last, 9 years in Kazakhstan. And what we see that around 3 years there is in one region, one or the other region, there is a big drought. So 2010 was catastrophic, 2012 was catastrophic, 2017, although it looks like a small problem, around here, Astana, it was also a big problem. And for us, okay, it was dry, it's nice weather, but for the farmer, if he loses 20–30% of his yield, his income is zero. He cannot pay back his credit, he cannot get back credit for next year, it is a big catastrophic and he's out of business. So for us, it's obvious that Kazakhstan needs an insurance system, a transparent insurance system like exists in many other countries in the world. So together with Association of Insurers, Malakut Broker and Ministry of Agriculture, we have been working on a product. So maybe next slide. So how can we transparently say if there is drought in Kazakhstan or not? So we want to do this for each field. And so we are working with a company called Vandersat. It is a Dutch startup company, not anymore startup. And they are able to measure soil moisture. So for every day, every field in the world, we know how much water there is in the soil. And then we can make a model, nothing complicated, and then we know if there is not enough soil moisture, then we know we should pay out insurance. Of course, anyone can come up with more difficult, more accurate ideas, but just measuring soil moisture and paying the farmer if it didn't rain, what could be easier? So like this, the farmer can ask for credit. If there is a big drought, he gets insurance, he can pay back his credit, he can get credit next year, and he can keep on working. We believe it's a very transparent, easy, good to understand system. Through the platform, all the farmers have access, and it fits to the yields of the farmer. This winter, we went around Kazakhstan, we presented the system to the farmers, and the feedback was actually really very, very good. So sometimes we say, the farmer, they don't understand satellite, they don't understand technology. Our feedback was, actually, they do understand this. They do have their phones, they do have their laptops. So yeah, I think now it's just a matter of executing, setting the operations up, and scaling this up, so we can grow together and hopefully come to inspiring growth. Thank you very much for attention. And
Thank you. Using the opportunity, how expensive is this index insurance for Kazakhstan?
So about the price, so it's really very flexible. So in the end, if the payout should be, for example, 10% of the yield, the rate could be around 1%. If farmers want to have 20% of the yield, it should be then 2%. In general, this data, it's for free. It comes from the NASA. There is this company Vandersat that does processing. This costs around 2% of the premium, which is nothing. It's not much. It's really a super effective system. Like if you have to go with 5 people in the field with a car, you drive 100 kilometers through the field. This is very expensive. This makes insurance very, very effective.
Thank you. How many clients do you have in Kazakhstan?
So we did, in 2018, we did a pilot project. We insured around 30,000 hectares. It was a rainy season, so there was no payouts. But yeah, this also happened, but there was a good yield. And this year, the sales has started, and some 100,000, but we hope, of course, for more.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. Наш следующий спикер, господин...
Our next speaker is Mr. George Dragan, head of the Kazbek, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Caucasus, and Central Asia, Syngenta company.
My name is George Dragan, and I represent here today the company Syngenta. I will start by saying a few words about our company, and then I will continue with the topic of today, which is agrarian receipts and is connected with what Minister Omarov introduced us, but also with the speech delivered by Marcel. We are a Swiss company. We have 19 years since we have been created. We are based in Swiss. From 2016, we are part of ChemChina, which is the biggest chemical company in China. But still, we are a Swiss company. We are producing pesticides for the agriculture and field crops, sunflower, corn, oilseed rape, and vegetable seeds. We have delivered last year a turnover of $14 billion worldwide. We are in Kazakhstan for over 19 years. We have 2 offices in Almaty and Astana, and we have 70 people on the ground, delivering the products and supporting the local growers for a sustainable and productive agriculture. Now, we do a business in Kazakhstan. We had in plan to do in Kazakhstan a business of $50 million this year. Unfortunately, we had to reduce our targets because last year we have generated losses of $28 million because of the bad debts. But we are still here. And we are still committed to support Kazakhstan in developing the agriculture. And one of the elements, one of the products that we are to propose to government, to support the government in developing, is the agrarian receipts. I hope it's working, yes. What is an agrarian receipt? It's a very simple and efficient solution which is securing the supplier to the debtor through a very simple format. Let's make it very simple. We have the growers. The growers need quality agriculture inputs, pesticides, seeds, but they don't have the working capital. And maybe the banks are not willing to support locally the growers with the money, with the working capitals. Here comes us, and we say, dear Mr. Grower, we are happy to support you. We are happy to provide you with our inputs, with our seeds, with our fertilizers, with our pesticides, but in return, we want from you a commitment in an official format, which is the agrarian receipts. So you commit to give us, to Syngenta, or to any other financial institution, be it a bank, let's give the example of a bank, that at the moment you harvest your crop, you either give us the crop itself or you sell your crops and give the money to financial institution. And there are a lot of benefits for both the growers and the suppliers. Now, which are the benefits for the farmers? As I said, we don't have the money, and if we don't have the money, we still need to buy the inputs. How do we buy the inputs? Well, we go to banks, and then we sign with the banks the agrarian receipts. Or we go to companies like Syngenta, and we sign the agrarian receipt, which is formalized through a specific web portal, and then we supply the growers with the inputs. At the moment of harvest, as I said, you even give the money back to the companies, to international financial institutions, or you give the trading companies or to Syngenta the crops, and then we evaluate, and this way you have the inputs paid back. I will just keep, because we don't have just 5 minutes. Well, we started the project in Ukraine in 2014 with a pilot project in one oblast, which was developed 2 years later in 5. And recently, in 2017, we have 7 different oblasts where we have run this project. We have issues, as you have seen here, 800 of agrarian receipts, and with a value of more than $250 million. And what is more important is that at the end, we had 0 defaults. So at the end, both parts, the creditor and the debtor, had fulfilled their obligations. How can it work? And I will skip to Kazakhstan. How does it work? Well, you have two elements. You have the grower, which is on top of the page, and you have the creditor. The creditor could be either companies like Syngenta or could be financial institutions. the grower needs the inputs, right? And it applies for the agrarian receipts. The next step is that us, or the financial institution, does the evaluation of the growers. And then the grower issue the agrarian receipts to a specific portal, to a specific electronic-based platform, which could be, may I say the word? CODAO, yes, could be that, could be, yes. So this electronic document is formalized through an electronic platform. And then we, or the financial institution, provides the inputs or the money to the growers, and in the end, when the grower harvests it, either give us back the money or the crop, and then the agrarian receipts are deleted or given back to the grower, and he has the grain back. I think this is a very simple way to allow the growers, to allow the agriculture development in the context where the working capital is limited and in the context where the banks are not 100% committed to support the agriculture. We could do that in coordination with the Minister of Agriculture. We could support the local growers, and we are committed, again, to stay, despite the fact that we've been facing in the last year some issues. Syngenta is willing to support the agriculture in Kazakhstan. We are the largest supplier for agriculture inputs, and we believe that implementing, introducing the agrarian receipt will be the next step in developing a more sustainable business for our companies in the country. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Thank you, George.
So our next speaker is Mr. Olzhas Kulimbayev, who is General Sales Director of Airbus. So I would like to welcome all participants. Probably many already know how Airbus is linked with agriculture. We have relation to everything which can fly, including satellite. Our company, Intelligence, which has 30-year experience of work, we are providing also pictures to many customers in many areas, starting from defense, oil and gas, public institutions and agriculture. I would like to show our geophysical parameters, to what extent they are unique and how they can help to precise agriculture. So, biophysical parameters, this is the result of getting information from the pictures which depict the status of vegetation, and our experts have been developing this for 20 years. Such aspects as topographical data, atmosphere, soil, to what extent they are unique. Many people know that DVI index has been utilized, and it gives information whether there is vegetation on the field or not. And it has been compared to our parameters, and we have taken one field on the same day but a different time. So in the afternoon on the right and in the morning on the left, and you can see that there is different information in DVA. So no adjustment is required in our pictures. So no calibration is needed. And how biophysical parameters work? Here we have shown the most important. This provides the initial information, what is happening on the field, whether there is vegetation, how it grows, and before sowing, they can see weeds. And if to correlate this with agronomical data, humidity, how the crop is growing in this or that area of Kazakhstan, we can prepare more detailed information. And the most important information is harvesting potential, which fertilizers shall be introduced and applied. Here we speak about precise agriculture. In our area, number one is clouds. If each pixel for Kazakhstan is important, and also there is algorithm, it eliminates everything which relates to mist, to the mists, and each pixel, each picture is used. And speaking about geophysical parameters, this is the beginning of precise information, provides initial information for the government, for farmers, what is happening on the fields, are there any abnormalities. Also, as for precipitation, temperature, this information is available, and the farmers could focus. And in this example, LIE has identified that there is a very low content of chlorophyll, and nitrogen level is very low. 35 units of nitrogen are being advised to be applied. In France, there is also FarmStar platform, and our partners also provide their own modeling on the behavior of plants. And information does not go to farmers, but go to combine machinery, and all European countries have started, I believe, that platform, as well as Canada and Australia. And also, I would like to say these biophysical parameters can be used for insurance and index insurance of pastures. This is a unique index in the whole history, which has been approved by the Ministry of Agriculture. And to conclude, I would like to say that we are ready to share our technology for precise agriculture, to provide information to the government. There is great potential, and I'm sure that digitalization would help Kazakhstan to become a top country in this area. How much is the picture for per 1 hectare? So pilots have been implemented, and pilots are important. But as for prices, everything depends on the negotiations and farmers' possibilities. Our next speaker is Gerald Herman, Director of Organic Services, who was kind to provide short film, which we saw at the beginning.
Thank you for coming. I'm approaching this topic from a little bit a different angle, because we are not looking at precision farming or at the farms or supporting farmers themselves. We are looking into agri-food chains and the verification of promises that certain products or producers are making, like for organic. They say, this is a certified product, so this is a higher value in the market. Now I want to have proof that this is true. So how do you do that? Normally through certification, but a lot of paperwork. So I'm showing you more a systematic approach, going a little bit back also into history. So when were regulations developed, organic regulations in the EU and in the US? That was in the 1980s. We were working like this. The first Apple computers came up. This was like a mobile phone was looking like. You know, we carried around a block that was very heavy. Now we are Industry 4.0, digital artificial intelligence. It's looking like this. So we have to think, and this is where Kazakhstan is also coming into the play, where we had a project together with the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, FAO, in developing a system that is modern and has another thinking of how a regulation should be set up to work together with in the digital era. So from hand and horse work to robots. You know, we have one problem in farming. The average European farmer is 60 to 65 years of age. If we want to continue farming, we have to bring more young people into farming. And digitalization is one issue to make the life of farmers easier and better. So we get away from handwork or from horse work. We get into robots, digitalized production, precision farming, Internet of Things, sensors in the field, robotics. All that can be used, and it also can be used in organic agriculture. Organic does not mean that this is the agriculture of grandfathers and grandmothers. Organic is a very modern type of farming. It embraces sciences and it embraces digitalization and modern technology. We need to intensify organic farming without pesticides, without mineral fertilizers, and therefore we also have to think about what's going on in the future. So 20, 30 years ago, the market was hardly measurable. It was local and direct. This is a picture of one of the first wholesalers in the 1980s. It was direct marketing from farm. Today, organic is a market of $100 billion US. It is the biggest discounters in Germany, Aldi, Lidl, and others who are spreading all over the globe, crashing food prices. They are now moving into organic, and this is a good sign because if we need a paradigm shift in agriculture, we also need retailers and people who are selling these products. Amazon bought the biggest organic food chain in the US, Whole Foods. This is also a sign that organic comes out of the niche. And Kazakhstan, to speak about this country, has a tremendous potential to produce organic products because the intensity of agriculture is rather low because of the dry climatic conditions. Yields are rather low. So the step into organic is not that difficult. And by getting a higher price in the market, also the long transport distances and logistics will help to bridge the farmer to the market. But then you need trust, and trust needs to be built on verifiable data. That's why we need digitalization. The external control and certification that needs to be conducted in organic is paper-based, was paper-based and is still paper-based. Nowadays, we have on-site tools on laptops, we have satellite images, and this is where a Kazakh company might come in because we need acreage data. If we don't have acreage data, we don't have proof of the yield and the volume that can be traded through the supply chain. We have the system to monitor these transactions through the supply chain and connect these data with certification data, all digital. but what we need is the land, the acreage data, to prove that the land is there. And then maybe Airbus and, who was it, Airbus or you, like your partners, will come in with the green index of, is there a crop? Is the crop really grown? And so on and so on. So we need to connect these systems, and then we can build a system that really tracks information, even as you can see here, a picture from Indonesia, a wild collection area in the primary forest. How do you know where they collect? With the GPS data, you can do that. Augmented reality, let the farmer be the inspector and not send an inspector any longer when the information is digital, drones, and so on, all that can be used. Today, we have paper certificates, we have Photoshop certificates, we have fraudulent certificates that are hopefully taken from the market. But why do we have fraud in organic? Because organic gets a higher price. And when you have commodity fraud and you have a shipload of conventional grain and you convert that into organic, you might have 4.5 million profits just by having the right paper. And this is why we need to run systems, and our system is called Check Organic. It's a cloud-based integrity management solution that brings real-time certification data together with real-time transaction data from the supply chain. And the FAO project we implemented here was a pilot for a Kazakh check organic system that could be implemented to build trust when farmers are exporting to the markets. Because there is, unfortunately, a lot of fraud coming from the Eurasian region. So this is a tool not only for fighting fraud from market to the farm, but the other way around, to promote real products with integrity to the market, proving your buyer that your product is really organic. That is the message, and that can help to develop the system and the agriculture, jobs in the rural areas in Kazakhstan, and of course also for the Eurasian community. We are talking to the Russians, we are talking to Armenians, we are talking to all those countries. They are all in a very similar development stage with their organic regulations. So if you would harmonize and you would build such a system, it would give you a different market standing. And as this is generic technology, you can use it for all kind of value-added systems like non-GMO, fair, sustainable, or whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you. Наш следующий спикер, господин Андрей Андрейчук, глава по региону компании Кропио. Пожалуйста, осторожнее.
Next speaker is Andrey Andreychuk, who is head of EMEA region, Kropio. Good afternoon. I'm the only one who is separating the audience from Dina. I will try to be very brief. So, who doesn't know Kropio? It is a digital platform which is unique because it allows farmers to collect a unique number of tools which will be used only by this individual farmer. Today we have spoken much about efficiency of agro industry. Why it is efficient? Because agricultural sector maybe if could be compared with gas and oil and gas sector, because they are sold on the international market and prices are set there. That's why individual company, individual farmer cannot influence the prices, and So cost of product, cost of production is the basis, and digital tools will help to manage the production cost on our market. On the market, I have told that these are more than 50 countries of the world. So there are three types of countries. The first stage is when technologies are used by individual farmers or innovative and enthusiastic farmers to optimize some specific processes in agricultural production. Drones, private meteor stations, satellite filming. When tools will be collected, then those tools would need to be integrated in one system. Then there is the next level when the companies are integrated in one system, and this is a general trend which we observe on various markets. So similarly with industrial companies, agricultural companies create rooms where they install the tools which shows the whole process from sowing to sale. And the third level, when the cooperation stage, production cooperation, and I would like to speak in more details on this stage. So I don't want to give examples of developed countries like US or European countries. Probably we need to look at closer countries such as Ukraine. Green Hub project has been developed in Ukraine, and those companies which are using integrated system of plant breeding, so the company can allocate those fields, information on which it is ready to exchange, and then other companies can see the fields of the neighbor, and can look what is growing there, which technologies are applied, which seeds are used, plant protection measures, group of technologies utilized, and the most important thing, can look at the yields, and then the participants of the project can determine which technology is the best for this or that field. For example, and for 2 years, the volume of lands has grown 10 years. Then, and yield is much higher for project participants, and this is fully commercial project on information exchange without any government involvement. And to this or that extent, it is a bright example showing how technologies used at the level of farmers then grew to the project at the national level, which can already create competitive advantage at the level of the whole country when it can influence the yield at the level of the whole country. I believe very much that companies would be involved in such projects, including in Kazakhstan. And thank you.
Уважаемые друзья, мы закончили.
Thank you very much. Andrei, dear friends, we have concluded our speeches. Let's move to the discussion, and I would like to ask one question for all speakers related to our topic. In your opinion, what are the barriers to digitalization implementation, and what are the tools? It's wonderful to use the satellite imagery, it's nice to use big data and cloud, but it all requires skills and competence and second, funding. And I think this, what makes it more complex, there is a high volatility of yield, we have a high volatility of price, we have a high volatility for most of our products, especially in the farming. Here we have colleagues from the state companies funding agricultures. So the companies, some companies are now less sustainable compared with conservative farms, who were more cautious and who look at different instruments to assess their efficiency. Mr. Minister Saparkhan Kesikbayevich, let's start with you. Raham, you have given the answer to your question in your speech. You talked about the competence of our agricultural producers, it's the financial capacity of our producers, but in any way, the government should support them, and we are supporting this at the moment. Now we are opening the competences center in Kazakhstan, who trains our producers the basics of digitalization. We have programs aimed to support and provide subsidies in the field of new technology implementation. We have all of this, and in addition we have major companies and holdings who understand the efficiency of digitalization. They are already doing the implementation. The key issue here is the small and medium-sized producers. We have to help and support them. Andrey Mikhailovich, how do you see the barriers in the customs union to digitalization at the policy maker level? I will add, the main problem is the lack of information, because someone is fully focused on his field, like he's doing the farming, and he thinks the other things is nonsense and doesn't make any sense. And not everybody has an understanding of the digital economy and what is digitalization in agriculture. So maybe we need to do more to raise the awareness. Maybe we need to do more promotion. You were right when you said that the farmer, when he understands that this is going to be profitable, this will become the irreversible process that cannot be stopped. Andrei, you directly work with farms and the basic market tools. If there is a competition, the inefficiency is punished, and the technologies like digitalization that bring the added value, they disseminate quickly because there is a big demand. So how do you assess the barriers to disseminate digitalization? Yes, certainly the government can push and do some support, some technologies, the implementation of new technologies, but we need to understand that there could be some push forward, but the widespread dissemination is only possible based on the natural selection process. those who don't do this sooner or later will find themselves in the situation when their cost price is higher than the market price, and this leads to a situation when they have to leave the market. So the widespread distribution and dissemination is an issue related to the natural selection, but the role of the government should exist. So basically you're saying that we need more fair competition. Yes. Fortunately or unfortunately, this is the only way to determine what should work and what should not work. And in Ukraine, your benchmarking project, when it was launched, how inclusive it is, how many participants it has. This project started less than 2 years ago, and during this time we have companies with land area of more than 2 million hectares, and they exchange the information for more than 300,000 hectares. But we need to understand that we can only exchange the verified and quality information, because not all the information is standardized, so they cannot exchange everything. So only all the quality-based information that is used by the users. So many companies use this information.
I think you have understanding about risks of doing agriculture in the region. So what is the obstacles in your view?
So what I said already in the presentation, yes, so definitely in Kazakhstan the main risk is the drought. I think for the farmer the biggest risk besides the drought is the price risk. So what we see in China and America is that on top of the weather risk, the farmers also start to insure against the drop of price. And when it comes to credit organizations, they also have the risk if the price goes up. That's also a risk, because then instead of the grain, the traders will get they get the credit back, although they want the grain. So the fluctuations in the prices is also a big risk. Then if we look to the south of Kazakhstan, so where all the gardens are, like tomatoes, apples, there definitely frost. So frost in April, May is a big problem. So if the apple trees are flowering, and there comes a temperature of like -5, -6, all the apples are dead. I think the last 6 years has been good, but if we look at the statistics of the last 20 years, it happens also every 4 or 5 years in Kazakhstan. And then during the summer there is the risk of hail. If it rains a lot, which is a bit rare, then there could be diseases, and then there can come these animals, grasshoppers. Then there is problems with animals that have diseases. There are so many risks. I think we have to go step by step, yeah? Step with the biggest and then go from there.
And what is the obstacles to use your products, your insurance products here in the region?
Traditionally, so the last couple of years in Kazakhstan has been a system where the government subsidized the loss payments. And if there is only money, if there is losses, then there is always losses. So it was the only country that had this system, and I think it's not a very good system, but it probably helped some farmers. Better probably is the premium subsidies, which is in around 100 countries in the world. The government subsidize something between 40 and up to 80% of the premium for the farmers. So for example, in the United States it's 85%, in China it's 80%, in India it's even 90%, in Europe it's more between 50 and 60. And it's important is that this is within the green box of the WTO organization. So instead of giving money directly to the farmer, you do it basically through risk management.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's all about policy. Aljas, пожалуйста.
Aljas, please, what is your version? What is your opinion related to the limits related to adopting some maybe satellite imagery Well, actually, there are two classes, two categories. So there are farmers who understand how to use the satellite technology, but to bring all the rest of the country, the small and medium-sized farmers, first we need to understand. We need to understand what is the precise farming, what are the benefits. And I can say that we need maybe some push from the government. Maybe we need some subsidies to use the satellite information and data so that the farmers really understand what is the benefit, what is the advantage in their production, so that they can use it in making their money. And maybe after 3 or 5 years, they can start paying for the services themselves.
Well, I think that we should speak more about the opportunities, and I think Kazakhstan has a great opportunity. When I came for the first time here 2.5 years ago, I was impressed about the developments in digitalization this country has done. No joke. I'm looking to the other countries in my geography: Armenia, Georgia, Belarus, even Russia. I think this country has done important progresses. The most important thing we should do together, hand in hand with the government, we the companies here, is to create the legislative environment to implement and to convey the messages of digitalization at the grower level. Someone has spoken today about we have a problem because the growers are all 65, 66. I'll tell you something. The generation shift, which is the generation of growers of 30, 40 something, is coming. And they follow the 65, 66, even 70 growers. And they all have mobiles, they all have laptops and tablets, and they are all already digitalized. So we should not be afraid that digitalization is not coming. It's just about how do we communicate it, and how do we create, again, hand in hand with the government, the legislative platform on the environment to properly convey the messages at the grower level.
Thank you. Digital natives coming. Gerald, the floor is yours. What is your opinion?
Yeah, we can run our system with cadastral data. We don't necessarily need satellite information. Satellite is nice for inspection, improving the inspection system. But what we need is a landscape that is asking for that this data is made available. And currently in the organic regulations and legislations, the field data, acreage data, is not mandatory. And because that data is not mandatory, we cannot build a mass balance system because we don't know what the volume is. And that is why I am advocating in all those Central Eastern European and Central Asian countries, don't only look at the EU and US. The US will now introduce the land as a mandatory information in future, but why don't you do the same mistake just from the beginning in your regulations, say that acreage data have to be made available, and then we can start tomorrow. The system is cheap. It's a license fee on a tonnage. The farmer does not have to buy or do anything because it's the trader to do the trade along the supply chain. They just need to be certified organic, and the certification data are coming from the certifiers. So for the farmer, there is no barrier. The biggest barrier is transparency. So we are shooting into our own knee with the system because actually, if I'm really open and frank, nobody wants to have transparency because there is no bribery any longer, there is no cheating any longer, there is no falsified certificates any longer, so people are not earning money with fraud. And why governments are not stepping in to end fraud, I don't know.
Thank you. Your point about transparency, I think, deserves applause. Ну, абсолютно согласен, наверное.
I fully agree, Sabarhan Kizikbayevich. We can make a conclusion. Here we have many wonderful producers and companies. So all we have to do is create favorable conditions for fair competition to promote the implementation of the useful solution. And those who don't use them, they should lose. They should start leaving the market. And I like it, the George point related to transparency and data availability. We have gone a long way in digitalization of data. In 2010, we started the cattle identification system, which helps with our legal cadastre. We did the digitalization of subsidies. So now it's up to the access to the services, and using the open IP principles, I think we'll be able to quickly make a quick progress. Some time ago, I was the advisor to Minister of Agriculture, and we could not collect the data on subsidies, who was given subsidies, to see how efficiently these subsidies were used. And I don't know how the situation changed now, but whether there is open access to this data, we will check it soon. Soon we will do the analysis of the agricultural development, and I hope that all the achievements we have will allow us to have the access. Dear friends, I would like to give 5, maybe 10 minutes to Q&A session. So please raise your hands and feel free to ask your question. Good day. It was mentioned that 100% of arable pastures have been digitalized in the country. We are waiting when this data will be in OpenIP. And will there be any work done this year or maybe next year to do this work? Please, Sapran Kisipavich. Like I already said, yes, 100% have been digitalized, and this is accessible and available to all agriculture producers. And each producer has an access to this system. They can see their own land. The business is doing this work, and I think we'll come to this in the future. So far, the agriculture producer can see the land, correct? But we will come at some point to the open access, and the same for the pasture. We are doing the same work. Thank you very much. I think it's a very relevant issue. There has been a long-standing discussions in the government that maybe we need to make a next step and provide all the information to the landowners, and this will strengthen our market relations. Next questions, please. Good afternoon. My name is Guljan Nurtazina. I have a question to Mr. Herman.
Regarding the organic production, I liked your presentation and liked your video you shared with us. You know, the organic production is very actual and very important in Kazakhstan. It's in the beginning stage of its development. And in this term, I have a question. So organic production, the prices for the organic production is really high. We know that, and especially the challenging thing with the organic production is its expiration date, especially with fruits and very perishable fresh livestock production. So what about the delivery of that organic production? I mean, what is the role of domestic local markets for organic production? I think that this is the first important thing if we would like to develop organic production. This is the first question. And the second one is, can you share with us EU experience of the organic production development at the beginning of stage? I mean that now we know we're advanced country.
Спасибо, спасибо большое.
I really try to make it very short because this is a short question, but it's a big answer. Within our project with the ministry and FAO, we also looked into how to develop an organic action plan for a country? What are the reasonable steps? And one step is, for example, also the development of the domestic market, because you don't only have quality product to sell to export. There's a lot of product that you might not be able to sell to export. Where do you sell it then? And when you sell that for conventional prices, your organic certification expenses does not make any sense. So there are a lot of issues that have to be thought through. I cannot give you a short answer, and all of the countries in the EU are very different. If you look from Greece or Spain to Denmark, it's all diverse. They have all their own histories. So we would have to sit together, and then we take it some hours and I tell you and give you some. But one issue is that when I met the farmers here in Kazakhstan, they told me we need specifically help for the conversion period, because during the conversion period we cannot sell the product as organic. So this is a problem. After the conversion we can go ourselves because we find a market, if it's export market. And they said we need a very simple support for machineries. That were the two things they were asking for. The rest they can do. They are farmers. They have a lot of knowledge.
Thank you, George. И последний вопрос, Кайрат, пожалуйста.
The last question, Kairat, please. Kairat Najimedemov, I'm the FAO representative. Basically, I don't have a question. It's like a remark. We talked about the barriers and the bottlenecks, and in our approach, we do it through examples. Because of course, one of the barriers is the investment, especially in the field of precise farming. It's obvious that in the long term there is a return on investment, and up to 30 to 40% of costs are saved with the help of precise farming. But for farms and for farmers, it's not convincing enough. When they see the examples, when they can visit the neighboring village or the neighboring farm and can see, so in Kazakhstan we will apply the same approach. We will disseminate the knowledge and we will demonstrate the successful and the efficient farmers. We will show that this is profitable, and then we will disseminate it to other farmers. Another thing I would like to say related to the agriculture digitalization, today we not only today, but for a few years, we have been discussing many things. There is some criticism, and also there are some achievements. But we, as an organization that operates not in just one country, but in many countries all over the world, we see that in Kazakhstan, digitalization in agriculture has made a huge progress, because a lot of public services have been digitalized. We already talked about the agricultural receipts, and we have the digital maps for pastures, which is 100%. We have 63% for pastures. Believe me, not everywhere, not in all countries and in regions have these accomplishments. And in our projects, we are going to promote this experience of Kazakhstan, especially the experience in the field of digitalization of agriculture. The hard success is the best motivation. Dear friends, now we have the memorandum signing ceremony. We have two memorandums. First is the memorandum of cooperation between the Syngenta and the Information Accounting Center of Kazakhstan. And the goal is to establish partnership relations, long-term relations, aimed to develop and adopt agricultural receipts, aimed to develop the agriculture. I invite Mr. George Dragan and the chairman, Mr. Janasil Ospanov. Please proceed to the signing ceremony.
церемонию подписания еще раз глава коммерческого подразделения Казбек компании Syngenta господин Джордж Драган и председатель
Mr. George Dragan and the chairman of the Information Accounting Center, Mr. Janasil Ospanov.
Спасибо большое, поздравляем вас. Аплодисменты.
Thank you very much. My congratulations. And the second memorandum. Second memorandum to be signed is the memorandum of cooperation between Swiss Reinsurance Company and the Agro Insurance Association. The partnership relations memorandum aimed to implement the measures of insurance instruments and products. Please proceed to the signing ceremony. Vice President Mr. Marcel Andres and the Chairman of the Agro Insurance, Mr. Yildoz Auzbekov.
Спасибо большое, поздравляем.
Thank you very much. My congratulations. Dear participants, dear guests, let us conclude the session, and I invite everyone, all the speakers, to take a group photo, and everyone who wishes to take a picture, please proceed to this stage.